Hello and welcome. We're coming to you live from the banks of the Bosphorus, literally just beyond the bridge that links Europe to Asia. All week we'll be broadcasting from the cultural and financial capital of Turkey, Istanbul. Well, the regional political influence of this largely Muslim but proudly secular nation is being highlighted by the fact that the US President Barack Obama is here meeting with Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan and President Abdullah Gül. For the US presidents whose first months have already been marked by efforts to reach out to key players around the world, Turkey represents a nation that can prove to be a bridge on a number of fronts, from Iraq and Iran to Syria and the Caucasus to issues such as regional energy politics. What exactly does President Obama expect to achieve from this visit, and will Turkey get anything in return? Well, joining me today to discuss this is Suat Kenikoglu, the member of the Turkish Parliament representing the ruling Justice and Development Party, and he's also spokesman for the Foreign Affairs Committee. Cengiz Çandar is a well-known political analyst, journalist and commentator. He's also served as an advisor to former Prime Minister Turgut Özal. And Nilgun Ceraoglu is the columnist for the Cumhuriyet newspaper, one of the country's main secular newspapers. Good to have you all here. Thank you. And Suat Kenikoglu, if I could start with you first and ask about the comment that Barack Obama made, saying that the US was not at war with Islam. What was missing from what Barack Obama said today? What was it you'd have liked to heard beyond that?
Well, I thought it was a very brave and timely statement. I don't think that we were looking for a lot more detail on that. But I think what was important, what he said is, and I think we all know, both from his message to El Arabiya and also to his Nowruz message recently, is that he certainly has a very different approach to the Islamic world. We, as you have introduced us, are a Muslim country with a predominantly Muslim population with a secular political system. I think it was refreshing to hear a president that wasn't talking about you're either with us or against us. So in that regard, it was refreshing and I think most welcome for most Turks.
You know, I wonder to what degree you think this visit might be just symbolic, with no real substance behind it.
There's a substance behind it. Barack Obama, in his presidential campaign and when he got the office at the White House, he made clear that his priority will be to ameliorate the relationship between the Western world and the Islamic world, particularly between the United States of America and the Muslim world. And Turkey, as he defined today in his speech in the Turkish Parliament, Turkey is at the midst of everything. So he is stretching his hand for, as again he told in a press conference today in Ankara, to establish a model relationship between Turkey and the United States, a model that will stand to attract all the good intentions of the Muslim world, uniting it to the Western world in a much more peaceful environment, which we didn't have in the 8 years preceding Obama's administration.
I should point out we have boats going up and down the Bosphorus as we do this interview, in case people are wondering what that sound is. It's still obviously a busy water passageway. Nilgun Ceraoglu,
busiest in the world, actually.
Busiest, well there you go, and they're still going tonight as well. Ms. Nilgun, I was wondering what you think Prime Minister Erdogan was looking for from Barack Obama. What was it do you think he wanted to take away from this meeting?
Well, first of all, there was a lot of strain, to say the least. I mean, strain is maybe even a euphemism between the United States and Turkey. The relations were strained. There was a breach of confidence, lack of trust, a crisis of confidence, actually, between the two countries. So the first aim was really to set a new tone, in a way to overcome this crisis. I think Obama did manage to set a new tone, and I think that there was not only on part of the Prime Minister Erdogan, but if you looked at the parliament today, there was an enormous amount of anticipation for this speech, to hear what Obama was to say. It was like an hour of truth kind of speech in defining the relations between the two countries. And in the end, I think everybody was satisfied.
Interesting you mentioned the Parliament was anticipating. Let me put an email question we got to you that came in from Pakistan. And Rizwan in Pakistan wrote in saying, people around the world feel Obama is more trustworthy than Bush and take his words as a sincere effort as opposed to mere rhetoric. Is this also true in Turkey? And what do the Turkish people expect from President Obama?
Well, actually, of course, like everywhere, Obama also charmed the Turks, charmed Turkey. He did a charm operation, but Turks will not be swayed just by charm, precisely because of this deeply strained relations over a number of years now with the Bush administration. They will want to be reassured in their fears, in their hesitations. I mean, it will take like maybe a year or so to put things on track. I think there was a distinction between the charming man, the man Obama, and realpolitics of the United States of America. I think the Turkish public makes this distinction.
Well, let's get Steve on the line from California, who's called in. Steve, thanks for your call. What would you like to ask?
I would like to ask the journalists, respectful people there, especially Tengiz, if he is proud of his president. I'm proud of my President Obama, that he did not change his position and politely acknowledge that the genocide, he has not changed his mind. But this president shamefully said that they should leave that to the historians. After 95 years, if their historians and their history had not been studied by their president, what they are going to find now, it is a direct denial of the genocide when the world acknowledged it.
Okay, Steve, I'll put this, and Cengiz Çandar, actually, he was directing it to the journalist, but to yourself in particular. He was saying that, you know, he was looking at the issue of the Armenia genocide, which Barack Obama avoided using the word genocide. And Steve, our viewer, feels that to some degree this has been skirting around the issue in Turkey. That, you know, the stance hasn't been dealt with.
I think President Obama performed unprecedented honesty on this issue, because in the press conference when he was confronted with this question about the pledges that he made during his presidential campaign, he said he still stands behind his word. That means he believes what has happened in the year 1915 was a genocide. But when it comes to spell it out on that day, April 24th, or to introduce a legislation to the Congress, it will not be conducive to anything. Right. To the acknowledgement of this issue by Turkey, by the already developing relations between Armenia and Turkey. So after all, this is politics, and if you will not get anything politically and concretely out of this thing, his personal conviction wouldn't mean anything, but he still stands with it. He said it.
And I think Steve is saying that the Turkish Prime Minister is avoiding coming to terms with it, that he should recognize it as genocide.
Well, this is a process. It's not only a matter between the official channels of two countries. In this country, this issue has started to be discussed and debated widely. And only very recently, about 30,000 people led by 300 intellectuals started a signature campaign in sharing the pain of the Ottoman Armenians, which has a catastrophe that had befallen on them. So this issue is an ongoing process, and let it take its course. So any kind of third-party intervention might spoil its healthy movement.
Yeah. Okay. We have on the line from Massachusetts, Sharif with a question. Sharif, go ahead.
My question is this. President Obama was really sincere about not being at war with the Muslim world. how come he instructed his ambassador at the United Nations to resist any kind of criticism of Israel, as she put it, this crap against Israel? I wonder if Gaza was crap, and why does he continue to provide cover?
Okay, Suat Kenikleolu, if I could put that to you, that what our viewer here, Sharif, is saying is that Barack Obama may be seen as honest in some quarters, but the way he's handling the Israel-Palestine situation for many is seen as in denial and still holding the old party line that you know it's in support of Israel. How would you respond to that?
Well, there's certainly truth in the expectation in the Islamic world, in the Middle East in general, that there needs to be a more vocal pronouncement of who is the aggressor and what the conflict is really all about. But obviously, as someone who understands the American political system, the political culture there, it is unrealistic to expect that to happen that early on. I think it's important that President Obama has decided to take on the Middle East early on. He has sent his special envoy twice to the region, including to Turkey. And I think it's quite a satisfactory sign from the beginning that he hasn't left this, as traditionally is done, to the end of the second term, but intends to get at it early on. Well, whether that will produce a balanced position vis-a-vis the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I don't know. Well, that remains to be seen. But I think the choice of George Mitchell itself shows some clarity and positive approach from our end. But I think regardless of what President Obama will choose to do, the problem will remain, and it will remain a source of serious instability for the region and the world. So I don't think he can avoid it, especially if he is serious about Iran, if he is serious about Afghanistan, Pakistan, and as he has shown leadership in the recent election of the NATO Secretary General, I think he has to address it early on.
Well, we've got Shaukat on the line from the UK. Shaukat, what would you like to ask?
Yeah, hello, assalamu alaikum, Riz. I'd like to ask two questions rolled into one. Is this new approach by Obama reaching out to the Muslim world as an acknowledgement of the failure of U.S. policies of the past? And is the realization now by the Americans that there's a bigger influence on world stage by the Russians and by the Chinese? Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
I didn't get the full part of the second part of the question. There's certainly the first part, and perhaps Cengiz Chandari could put this to you. Is the acknowledgement that America is not at war with the Muslim world in somehow an admission of failure of the US's previous position on the Muslim world?
Well, we can say that, of course, as what some moments ago has indicated, that it's diametrically opposed to either you are with us or against this position. So it's a new discourse, new style, and especially apart from the discourse itself, when President Obama in his speech in the Turkish parliament today referred to the role the American Muslims played in enriching the United States of America, and he says he knows it so well because he's one of them, just emphasizing his affiliation to the Muslim community. It's a very new voice coming from the United States of America at the presidential level, and it's very, very important and new, of course.
Let me just quickly squeeze in the second part. I think was really referring to the Muslims in China and in Russia then, and how America's position on them might change, you think, Nilgün?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but there's one thing I want to underline about this Muslim world part, is that there was a lot of anticipation that and perplexity whether or not he would make this address to the Muslim world by and large that he had promised during his election campaign, and he also mentioned in his inauguration speech. Now, I didn't think that this was particularly the address he was referring to in his election campaign and in his inauguration speech. I think he spoke more to the Turks from the Turkish parliament. He spoke to the region. He made very important points, and he gave messages to practically all the countries with problems in the region, Iran, Iraq, and so on. And he made a matter-of-fact statements about the Muslim world, saying that we're not at war with the Muslims. I think it was just a... yeah, and we will never. It was a very civilized way of making this point.
I'm going to pick up on more of these points in just a moment. We've got to take a very short break here. Now, as we take this break, we'll have more of our debate from Istanbul. But as we pause, let me remind you, you can join the conversation with your questions and comments by logging on to livestation.com and entering the chat room. There's a debate taking place there right now, and we'll be right back.